The national polls are telling us the same thing that these state polls almost are, which this race is much closer than he wishes it would be. He's underwater in Arizona and in Georgia and in Wisconsin. These states were so important to his victory in 2020. And right now, he's losing a lot of people there. That's not where you want to be a year out from Election Day, but we are about a year from Election Day, and there's time for the president to improve on some of these.
Well, let's dig into some of the numbers more specifically here and the issues, Eli, because the economy was what was supposed to be the winning issue for Joe Biden. Bidenomics, the Inflation Reduction Act, the infrastructure deal. All of those bring lower scores for Joe Biden than Donald Trump. Can you walk us through?
I mean, the headline figure to me was half of voters in all of these states combined think Bidenomics has been bad for the country's economy. His message is not winning in these swing states where he needs it to be. And that's something we've also noticed in some of our national tracking. You know, when good things happen for the economy, voters are far less likely to hear about them than they are the bad things. He's got a case to make. The problem is the voters aren't hearing about it. And on every economic issue we tested, from housing to costs, Donald Trump has an advantage. Only about a third of voters trust Joe Biden to handle those things. He's president. This is his problem right now. Donald Trump is not in office, but clearly over the next year, he's got to work to convince the American people that Bidenomics is working for him.
If it hasn't happened yet, though, Eli, I know you're not a political strategist advising the president here, but my goodness, I was talking to Rick Davis a little while ago about these numbers. You can only have so many campaign events with a hard hat and a backhoe. Is that the next year for Joe Biden?
Yeah, I mean, and part of it is, the ad spending really hasn't started yet. The president hasn't yet made his political case to the American people. A lot of his campaign events have been going out and raising a lot of money. The other thing is, a lot of the economic news, when it's good, it's kind of boring. It doesn't get a lot of attention. And meanwhile, you've got a hot war in Israel, a hot war in Ukraine. The national media attention is focused a lot on that. The American people are too. And still, folks are going to the grocery store and things are expensive. And so whenever you hear about these wins of his, be it on chips, be it on infrastructure, those are like long-term policy victories that over time will yield results. That doesn't do anything about gas prices or how much it costs to buy a gallon of milk.
Well, we can go beyond the kitchen table issues here. As you point out, foreign policy is a problem as well. Trump fares better than Joe Biden on U.S.-China relations, as well as the war in Ukraine. And I don't know how much that has to do with the fact that Donald Trump has not been in office for this conflict. There's not necessarily a real comparison to be made there, but he frequently says if he were president, this never would have happened. And if he becomes president again, he could fix it and end this war in 24 hours. What do you make of that?
I think a lot of that is Donald Trump's distance from the Oval Office at this point. Honestly, I mean, Joe Biden's underwater on every issue, almost every issue we tested, except for things like climate. I think the American people have just a bad view of him at this moment. And meanwhile, Donald Trump is just not getting the same kind of attention that he used to whenever he was in the Oval Office. I think part of this is the Biden campaign will need to litigate a case against the president on these national security issues. I think the Jack Smith case involving the classified documents is a pretty clear way of doing it. The challenge has been the president has been afraid to touch it, given the Justice Department's involvement in it. But you have the former president with classified documents down at Mar-a-Lago. That seems like a pretty easy case to make to the American people not to trust the former president. But the challenge is Joe Biden is overseeing now two wars, and this issue is front and center for him.